नाज़रीन अस्सलाम वालेकुम वेलकम टू आवर टुडेज़ कवरेज साबिर गायस आपके साथ मैं यहाँ पर मौजूद हूँ ड्रॉपलेट्स ऑफ मर्सी जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसने आज यहाँ पर एक गाला इवेंट ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया है इसका पर्पस इंडिजिनस लोगों के लिए क्लीन वाटर फराहम करना ये इनका इनिशिएटिव है जिसको ह्यूमन कंसर्न इंटरनेशनल ने स्पॉन्सर किया है सपोर्ट किया है और यहाँ 400 से ज़ायद लोग एक्सपेक्टेड हैं ख़ास बात इस इवेंट की इस इनिशिएटिव के साथ साथ है कि शेख उमर सुलेमान जो डेलिस टेक्सास से ख़ास तौर पे इस इवेंट को जो है वो इस इवेंट में तकरीर करने के लिए तशरीफ़ लाए हैं और उनके साथ साथ पास्टर माइकल वाटर्स भी मौजूद हैं कि जिन्होंने काफ़ी काम किया है शेख उमर सुलेमान के साथ इंटरफेथ के हवाले से उनका यहाँ पे ख़िताब भी होगा फंड रेजिंग इवेंट भी है और लोगों को शेख उमर सुलेमान के साथ बात करने का मौका भी मिलेगा और हम भी ख़ास तौर पे उनसे कुछ ऐसे सवालात आपके लिए पूछेंगे कि जो आप जानना चाहते हैं कि दौर हाजिर के अंदर किस तरह से अपने बच्चों की अपब्रिंगिंग की जाए जैसे कि शेख उमर सुलेमान के जो फॉलोवर्स हैं उनकी जो बहुत बड़ी तादाद यूथ की है और उसकी सबसे बड़ी वजह यह है कि उनका टू द पॉइंट अंदाज में बात करना और आसान जो है वो ज़बान के अंदर अल्लाह और उसके रसूल अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम का पैगाम जो है वो आज की यूथ आज की नस्ल बच्चों तक और हर एज के लोगों तक पहुंचाना ये उनकी खासियत है हम उनसे भी बात करवाएंगे ऑर्गेनाइजर्स के भी का भी मैसेज आपको पहुंचाएंगे कि इस इवेंट में वो क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं कितने पैसे वो जमा करना चाहते हैं और उसके बाद जो है वो ये पैसा कब और कहाँ लगेगा और इससे किन किन लोगों को फ़ायदा पहुँचेगा So first of all, welcome to both of you to Canada, and I assume that it's not the first time for you in this beautiful country.
No, it is not. And if elections go the right way, then we'll be back very soon too. So
Awesome, awesome. So, Pastor Michael Waters, especially thanks to you that you are here to support this, noble cause. One thing that I would like to ask you is, we as a Muslim, we feel really good and proud about it when somebody comes to us and say Happy Ramadan or Eid Mubarak or Assalamu Alaikum and speak our language. It makes us feel very good. But when it comes to us, we don't do the same thing. We don't come to you and say, Happy Christmas or maybe or other occasions. So how do you feel about this, and what would you give the message to Canadian Muslims that what do you expect or your faith people of faith in your community expect from us?
Well, that's not been my experience in Dallas. We have a tremendous relationship with many faiths and multi-faith communities, but particularly with the Muslim community. And so during our high holy days, I'm oftentimes receiving words of thanksgiving and gratitude from a number of friends. And indeed, I try to do the same in return. And so maybe this is something that can be implemented here in Toronto. Maybe there's something that we can share from our experience and from our unity together that might be helpful going forward.
I'm really glad to know, as you mentioned, the what's happening in your city. But I'll ask Sheikh Umar Suleiman. We have heard in some cases scholars might, say to people, it's not halal, it's haram to say Merry Christmas. Is this something how we should live in this society?
I think that the greetings are one thing. I think that what we're trying to do is actually move people towards more than just speaking and things of that sort. And I think if you look at our experience in Dallas, it's been beyond greetings. It's been actually moving together to move society to where they greet each other more naturally. And we're talking about living in harmony. So for us, I think it's beyond the holidays. It's not just greeting each other on holidays. It's moving together towards justice, and that's something that's far more important for us. So that's our experience together. So we're hoping that we can carry that, I think, beyond just Texas, and instead move it to the world, move it globally.
Awesome. And if Pastor, if you please allow me, I'll ask you, specific questions to Sheikh Umar Suleiman, and then I'll come back to you. So, in your 2012 Facebook post, you said, "I don't buy into groupism and sectarianism," right? And this is exactly most people would like to believe. But when we look around, we have this reality in front of us, whether we live in Muslim country or non-Muslim country. People have this question often: how do we raise our children, especially when our mosques are controlled by these, groups like Salafi, Wahhabi, Deobandi, Barelvi, and so on? So how do we raise our children in environment like this?
So I'm going to again take it to beyond our mosques. I think it's about how you raise your children, period, and how you work together with people, period. We need to learn to work with people of other faiths, and we need to work amongst each other within our own faith, and we need to do that in a way where not only do we stay true to our own principles, but we we have things that cause us to come together, that bring us together for the greater good. I think that sectarianism, whether it is outer faith or intra-faith, is obviously unhelpful, and it keeps us away from achieving our potential. And I think that that's a blight that on any group. I think every group can do a little bit better in promoting a better working relationship with communities. And frankly, I think it's small-mindedness. I mean, if you're bogged down, and that's if it becomes about the technicalities. So you asked about greetings. Like we're not thinking we're thinking about surviving and striving together beyond greeting each other on holidays. And so I think within a community and outside of the community, we need to think about that bigger picture and teach our children to be that way also, to work, to love one another, to work with one another towards the greater good.
That's good, and I think the first step is to people needs to know people, right? People to people connection, and it all starts with greeting each other and understanding what motivates you. What are some of your festivals, and the things that you like to celebrate. But anyways, I agree with what you said, Pastor. I will come back to you. So you have been working with the Sheikh Umar Suleiman for quite some time. And the way people believe and think that what media shows about Muslims and Islam, and I'm sure that when you worked closely with him, your perception must have changed. So do you see people of your faith come to you and say, Michael, what are you doing? Why are you close to Muslim faith? How do you respond to that?
Wonderful question. Well, a little bit about my background. I grew up in Houston, and so from being a young boy to now, I had Muslim friends and relationships and attended mosques. And so it really wasn't a stretch or a change in experience. What it was an invitation to live out those lifelong relationships that I've had in a broader and more impactful sense. And so it wasn't different. It was something that was a part of me and has been a part of me. But I must say that Imam Omar is a brother to me. We are family, and we stand together not just for causes of peace and justice, but really for one another in harmony together. And it is my great prayer and hope that possibly, if God would allow, our relationship is a witness to the world of what can be accomplished when people of like mind are willing to work together for a glorious new future. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm grateful for the relationship that we have, how it continues to build. The Muslim community was the first community to offer condolences to our community after white supremacists entered into one of our churches and killed 9 of our worshipers. And in many ways, I have sought to also be a first responder, if you will, as tragedies have come upon the Muslim community. Dr. King, I think, said it best, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And anytime there is an injustice, it requires that we respond. I've been so grateful and thankful for the responses and support from the Muslim community all around the world. And likewise, I've been grateful to work with others in responding to issues of concern to the community.
Thank you. Sheikh, what would you give the message to Canadian Muslims? That what are the top 2 or 3 practical things that we must do to integrate well with the society where we live in?
I think that our calling has to be obviously one of justice, and you have to live your faith. It's not just, again, to me, integration. And I think that there are indigenous Muslims in our community, obviously, in the United States of America. The largest group of Muslims are indeed African American Muslims, and so I think every cultural challenge is unique to whatever immigrant community is there. So the experiences of an Indian or a Pakistani Muslim is different from the experience of a Palestinian or a Somali Muslim in Canada. But I think that wherever we are, our mantra has to be of justice, that we have to take on the call of justice. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that he said, find me amongst the weak and the oppressed, because you are not given support or victory by God except for how you treat your most vulnerable ones. So I'm glad that we're not just here in an interfaith capacity. We're here for a cause that is very important to us both. And I think that's the point. When you're talking about the indigenous of this land, if you are an immigrant or not, you should be championing the rights of the indigenous of this land, and a basic right like water is a good one to bring people together. So I hope that it's a successful evening tonight.
Thank you. Just few quick questions, if you allow me. Living in Canada or the US, you've been living there. Obviously, you were born there, you were raised there. At times, we have seen our community expect too much from fellow Canadians or the government, and we want all the decisions based on our own views and beliefs. How much should we really expect?
I, I can't speak to that experience. I can say that in the United States, we expect more from our government because our government has been terrorizing Muslims around the world as well as Muslims domestically through things like secret evidence in the Patriot Act, the Muslim ban that precede Donald Trump. So I think that Muslims should demand equal rights and should put forth beyond equal responsibility in terms of demanding the rights of other people. So I can't speak to the Canadian reality. I can tell you that in America, we certainly have not expected too much from the government. In fact, I think we haven't held the government accountable enough for its crimes against Muslims and other people around the world. And I would think that there are some similar experiences here with the Canadian government. So we need to be productive members of society, not embrace a mindset of accepting being victimized and what that comes with, an internalized Islamophobia mindset. We need to be productive members, and we should not just be fighting for our own rights. We should be fighting for the rights of everybody else. And sometimes that means holding the government accountable. Sometimes it means holding ourselves accountable. But the point is consistency and principle is what we operate out of, not self-interest.
Good. And the name of your institution, Yaqeen Institution, it's a very impactful name. What is one of the best way to reach the desired state of yaqeen in everything what we do?
So yaqeen means it speaks to a level of certainty that you operate out of, right? And so operating out of confidence and certainty. Tonight, our event, the backdrop of the event is Muhammad Ali. And he acted out of a great sense of conviction in everything that he did. You never sensed any type of doubt. Not in his faith, not in his politics, not in his principles. So the point is that we need to overcome a sense of insecurity, and we need to embrace what we have and embrace it in a way that's empowering and that allows us to be as productive as possible in society and to not shy away from discomfort, whether that means challenging ourselves to grow or challenging society to grow, and to work to the best of our ability and to follow the example of great people that came before us, including Muhammad Ali.
Just one last question. So in this fast-paced world, how can we seek easily to seek, sorry, one second. We'll just edit this one. Yeah. So in this fast-paced world, how easy is to seek one second, I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Actually,
the word closeness. Last one, done.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, so in this fast-paced world, what is the easiest way to seek closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
By living out the message. So you got to manifest it and live it and do what you can to be it, right? The Prophet, peace be upon him, was described as a walking Quran. Be a walking form of scripture. So do what you can to actually live it in your life, and then when you live it in your life in the most truthful way, then it's realized in the most truthful way as well.
Thank you so very much, and thank you, Pastor Michael and Sheikh Umar Suleiman. Sister Mahmouda, Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Walaikum assalam, brother. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Very good, mashallah. So you drove, or you came from Ottawa to Toronto for this event?
Alhamdulillah. We left early this morning and yes, came straight here.
Awesome. And first of all, congratulations for becoming Executive Director for Human Concern International. I know it's a huge responsibility, but hopefully you'll do this job very well.
Thank you very much. I need your dua. I need everyone's dua because, as you said, it is a big responsibility.
Inshallah, we are here to support you. So tonight's event of this Droplets of Mercy, that they're doing this for indigenous people for clean water. Why Human Concern International is supporting this event?
Actually, Human Concern International, we've been wanting to do something really meaningful for the indigenous community. We have been doing local projects like distribution of food, distribution of winter clothing, some youth at risk, youth suicide prevention work, but we wanted to do something more meaningful on an ongoing basis and permanent solution, and this was one of them. So when Droplet of Mercy approached us that they have shared value and common interest as HCI, we said, let's get into it, and we partnered with them for this project. And we want all the donors and all the supporters to support this cause, and so that Droplet of Mercy and HCI could start implementing and start making a difference in our indigenous community.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I think this is a great initiative that HCI is locally involved, and I know you've got many projects all over the globe. Thank you.
Thank you very much again, and thank you everyone for all the
I have
support.
Sister Nergis and Sister Sarah with me, those who represent My Voice Canada magazine. Not sure if you had seen it. If not, Google it, go to Facebook and search it up and see, if you like anything there and be involved with this initiative. So how are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So you're here as a supporter of Droplets of Mercy or as a guest or
We're here as guests.
as a guest? What are you expecting tonight?
Well, we're expecting to hear Umar Suleiman say some wise words and inspire us.
That's what I was looking forward to hear because when I talk to my kids at home about this event, I truly, yes, I know about him, but I was not much aware because youth is more following Sheikh Umar Suleiman. My elder son, he got excited, and he wanted to be on this event. So I think is this the same thing you see in your friend circle?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people are just looking forward to learning about the initiative through him, because he has like that inspirational tone, and mashallah, I think the youth are very well informed about the work that he does, and I think just like Sister Nargis, I'm here as a guest, obviously as a supporter, kind of on the on the back end as well. Just here to get to know more about the initiative and obviously to meet him.
Thank you so much for talking with us. Thank you. To speak to the organizer of tonight's event, which is being held by Droplets of Mercy, which is, I really like the name. I have Brother Akbar Ali, who's the executive director of Droplets of Mercy. How are you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah, shukr, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ovais, for coming here and covering the event for us.
It's our pleasure. And Sheikh Umar Suleiman and I spoke to Pastor Michael Peters. It was really a pleasure, understanding their perspective. And they're here in Canada, and hopefully the event is going to be a very successful one. So what are you expecting tonight in terms of how much money is your goal to raise?
So when we talk about money, we obviously want to try to raise as much as possible, but our main goal tonight is awareness. We want people to understand what the Indigenous Clean Water Initiative is and what the Indigenous water crisis is. That's our most important goal tonight, is that we want to bring awareness to the suffering of the Indigenous people here in Canada. Our goal, we'll keep that private for now.
Very good. And I think this is something we need to appreciate, that most we have seen charities would work for overseas projects, but this one is local for here, for Canadian people. I think this is a great initiative.
Well, I mean, the thing is that we live in Canada. So we expect that all the things care of government and also municipalities, but the Indigenous issue is a very complex issue, multi-layered issue, and it's a decade generation of systemic injustices to them. So we're just hoping to shed a light on it, inshallah raise some money tonight and going forward, and bring as many Islamic organizations and other community partners together to raise funds so we can help the Indigenous brothers and sisters, inshallah.
Awesome. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thanks so much, brother. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Civil rights road trip. I'll mention a little bit about this in my remarks tonight, but I was honored to travel through the Deep South, our families together, to some of the sites significant to the civil rights movement. And the two primary characters within the book are our daughter, Liberty, Omar's son, Abdullah, together as they view these sites and as they commit themselves together to be a part of a better day. So that comes out in 2021. And if you get a chance to check it out, we'd greatly appreciate your support.
All right. We'll get into the formal proceedings, but honestly, Jazakallah khair. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today, and especially early, to hear Sheikh Omar and Pastor Waters and Sister Yulise speak about Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research, and also all the endeavors and Pastor Waters' new book. I hope you told him about the book. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. It's funny, we should have Sister Yulise actually speak as well, because she's doing some amazing work down in Texas.
The work that I do is really ultimately to liberate youth and emerging adults from jails and prisons. In Texas, young adults represent 11% of the population, except for they also represent 29% of the arrests in Texas. And we also know that after a young person has been, or emerging adult has been arrested, that within 3 years, they will recidivate. And recidivate means that they will become re-involved or re-engaged with the justice system. And right now, Texas spends $5 billion annually on incarceration. And we have a 75% recidivism rate. So we are losing our young people to the prison industrial complex at an alarming rate. The work that I do is to intercept them from that system After they've been arrested, we go in and we take them out of the jails and prisons, and we provide the supports necessary, holistic supports that impact the social determinants of health, things like education and transportation, and an understanding of race in America, an understanding of finances, community support, holistic support. After being in our program for 9 to 18 months, their cases are dismissed and immediately filed for expunction. To date, of the folks who have participated and graduated from our program, none of them have recidivated. So we're looking at a 0% recidivism rate right now. We're really excited about it. We've partnered with Harvard's Access to Justice Lab, Texas UT School of Public Health, and Texas A&M's Public Policy Institute to launch the largest ever randomized controlled trial study in the criminal justice system, to be able to answer the question whether or not having emerging adults in community-based treatment services is better for them than incarceration. For most of us, we would think, obviously so. Unfortunately, for a lot of politicians, it's not necessarily that simple. So we've got to prove it by data, and then once we prove it, we intend to make sure that we really transform the justice system so that it actually achieves justice. Thank you.
Still rages all across the globe. Earlier this month, I stood and spoke outside a memorial at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, where a young white supremacist from near my community drove 10 hours, 650 miles, in order to kill 22 people there because of their brown-skinned friends. When I went to that memorial, I saw a man on his knees tending to flowers around the memorial, and when I came around, I recognized him as a man who lost his dear wife of 22 years. When I asked if I could pray with him, he embraced me and held me tightly, put his head in my shoulder, and dampened my shoulder with his tears. Over and over and over again, he said aloud, "I miss her so much. I don't know what I'm going to do now." Friends, earlier this week, I stood outside of the courthouse in Dallas, Texas, at the beginning of the trial of yet another white police officer who shot down a black unarmed man. This time, this man's name was Bolton Shimjong. This man was killed in his own home, his own living room.
Today, if it wasn't for this man and his speechless, I thank you very much for what you gave us with the meaning of Cassius, because now I've been fulfilled with something I need to go forward with. And now we get to the fundraising. Nobody move. The formal fundraising aspect of this evening now, if you've been inspired by the likes of Akbar, who is here, of course, Sister Khan, Talha, Brother Pastor Waters as well too, then you know about the importance of this initiative here tonight. You know the importance of just a couple of, just so you know, I was reading again some stats that 75% of us as children, when we're born, 75% of our body is water. 73% is accumulated in our brain and heart function. Water is systematically made for us to function. And 73% of indigenous communities don't have clean water. We have 70% of us here that's functioning properly. They don't live with any.
Why? So you understand what it means. You know why we actually deprive ourselves of water? Yes, God Almighty commanded us to do so, but to be able to understand what others feel go through. If I will tell you that there is an African girl has no water, if I just tell you that, how would you feel? Well, some of us say, too bad. But if you are in love and you cannot go to sleep, and you go downstairs and you turn on your TV, you can actually see that infomercial. You can see that black African girl that goes down to dig for something that even to drink or eat. How would you feel? See, the first time I only used your hearing sense. So you were somewhat moved. But the second time I added a visual. That means you didn't just hear about this girl, you saw it. So two senses that were actually coming in to make a decision that you will actually be able to do something about it. So you may have a tear down your eye. And you may feel something ashamed, helpless. And then if you don't drink yourself, like in the month of Ramadan, that means all your senses are including in the decision making. So no one will tell you what it feels to be like thirsty. No one will actually tell you because you go through it yourself. That means you know what it feels like to be thirsty. And that's one of the reasons, of course, among others, we fast in the month of Ramadan. So we share. We don't take it for granted. We are grateful to God Almighty. So he says, وَعْمَلُوا آلَ دَاوُودَ شُكْرًا. It is not but your lip service that you're grateful to Allah for the blessings that we have, the things that we take for granted. But it's by your actions and deeds that you show your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that. So I want you to think of planting a seed. Thinking about a tree. Actually, we started with a tree. The only thing that I want you to remember is what God Almighty told us about the beginning of our family, our own.
Sonny Liston. And then Malcolm X shows up in Miami, Florida. One of the most controversial men in America. White America hated him. Black America was confused by him. Malcolm is not someone you want around for a high-profile event. And Malcolm is walking around calling him his little brother, carrying a camera, taking pictures of him in some of the most tense times of his relationship with the Nation of Islam. And the promoters walk up to Cassius Clay at 22 years old, who has the opportunity to be the world champion and have all the money presented to him, and say to him, it's either us or Malcolm. Either Malcolm goes or we go. Without thinking, this 22-year-old Cassius Clay, who had spent this entire time building up to the fight, says, fine, call the fight off. Gets in a car with Malcolm, starts to drive up, has these men in suits chasing after him and begging him to stay. Cassius says, not only does Malcolm stay, I'm going to put him front row during the fight so that everyone can see him. And after the fight, have Malcolm next to him during the interviews. And then says that, by the way, my name is now Cassius X. There was something about conquering that desire that started very early on. A 22-year-old had already conquered fame and conquered money for his principles and integrity. That was one battle that had already been won. And I actually want you to watch what Malcolm said about Ali after. Where would Muhammad Ali be if these issues of contaminated water for indigenous people whose land was stolen from them that we occupy, where would he be on this cause? Where would he be on this issue, dear brothers and sisters? If Muhammad Ali said, service is the rent that you pay for your room here on earth, what about service, or what's the rent that you pay for living on occupied lands and benefiting from the cleanest and purest of resources, while the people who rightfully own this land cannot even have a clean sip of water? And so I hope, inshallah, that you leave tonight not just fulfilled, not just feeling a greater connection to this great American Muslim, this great American period, this great Muslim period, this great human being period, but that you yourself activate as much as you can that potential through purpose that Allah has put inside of you. Jazakumullah khairan for giving me all of this time. Thank you all very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
नाज़रीन, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका हमारे साथ रहने का। और आपने देखा कि जिस तरह से शेख उमर से जब हमने बात की और कुछ ऐसे सवालात उनसे हमने पूछे जो ख़ास तौर पे आपके लिए, मेरे लिए اس نان مسلم کنٹری میں رہتے ہوئے کس طرح سے ہم یہاں کے معاشرے میں انٹیگریٹ ہوں اور کس طرح سے جو ہے وہ ہم اپنا فعال کردار ادا کریں. تو انہوں نے یہی کہا کہ ہمیں جو ہے وہ بگ پکچر کو دیکھنا چاہیے، لیکن ساتھ ہی ساتھ جو ہے وہ جو عوام سے تعلق ہے، جو انٹرفیتھ ڈائیلاگ ہے آپس میں پڑوسیوں کے ساتھ، وہ اپنی جگہ پر بہت اہمیت کا حامل ہے. اور پاسٹر جو مائیکل پیٹرس بھی ساتھ آئے ہوئے تھے، انہوں نے بھی یہ کہا کہ کس طرح سے وہ شیخ عمر سلیمان کو اپنا بھائی تصور کرتے ہیں اور کس طرح سے مسلمان کمیونٹی امریکہ کے اندر ایٹ لیسٹ ان کے شہر میں، ان کے صوبے کے اندر کسی بھی مسئلے میں جو ہے وہ سب سے پہلے باہر نکل کے ان کے ساتھ کھڑی ہونے والی ہوتی. امید ہے کہ آپ کو پروگرام پسند آیا ہوگا. سلسلہ جو ہے وہ مین پروگرام کا جاری ہے. فنڈ ریزنگ بھی یہاں پر ہو رہی ہے اور متوقع ہے کہ ایک بڑی تعداد میں جو ہے وہ یہاں پہ اماؤنٹ جمع کی جائے گی اور اس کے بعد جو ہے وہ انڈیجنس پیپل کے ساتھ جو ان کا انیشیٹو ہے ہیومن کنسرن انٹرنیشنل سپورٹ کیا ہے کلین واٹر پروجیکٹ کا، اس کو جو ہے وہ عملی جامہ پہنایا جائے گا. صابر گائے صاحب کو اور مجھے اجازت دیجیے. بہت بہت شکریہ ٹورانٹو 360 ٹی وی دیکھنے کا. السلام علیکم.
نیلوفر حسینی.